him and Coke Ric Flair are very good at promos.
Just say
Yeah,
Nation.
that's gonna be this. That's gonna stick. I'm not giving up on that one.
Okay. Oh Lord.
It's Coca-Cola. He got a lot of caffeine. Would you prefer Mountain Dew Ric Flair or Red Bull Ric Flair?
Well, let's say Red Bull Ric Flair.
All right.
You can say what you want, man.
All right, so I'm actually surprised they had this match this early on in the Starrcade, but it was a dog collar match between Roddy Piper and Greg Valentine, who was the U.S. champ at the time. They used, at one point, Roddy just whipped Greg with the chain.
Oh yeah.
The announcers tried to put over the collar to be something you put on a pit bull, and that the chain was very, very large and hurt a lot to get hit with. And they can use it to choke people. They can use it to squeeze the arm. They can use it for a whip. They can use it as knuckles and whatnot. That I found really interesting. Roddy Piper won this one. There was a choke by Greg Valentine, which looked very gnarly after the match, but Roddy took the win. What'd you think of this one?
I thought it was a good dang match. Piper is always entertaining in the ring, and of course his character is always entertaining. It's very violent, good match. Yeah, I gave it a 7.
I gave it a 7 as well, and part of the points that I gave is I'm pretty sure this was one of the very beginning dog collar matches, because I cannot think of hearing anything before then about that stipulation being used. So for the pure idea that they were being innovative during the match, gave them more points for it.
Yeah.
Then we had the Briscoe brothers. That's Jack and Jerry Briscoe, I believe.
Yes.
Who are the champs versus Ricky Steamboat and Jay Youngblood. Overall, the Youngblood and Steamboat walk away with the tag titles on this one. Did you have anything you want to add about the match or what your rating was of it?
Rating was a 4. It didn't over impress me, but it was cool to see the Briscoes out there doing their thing. And Jay Youngblood, his name's been around for obviously back then it was a pretty popular name. Of course, Steamboat, we all know about Steamboat's matches. The way he's grown, evolved over time, and no, it was fine. I thought it was a basic match, decent still storytelling, but I just wasn't overly involved emotionally.
Yeah,
so I give it a 4.
I did a 3.5. I'm not very fond of doing the half ratings, but I gave the 0.5 for the title win because that was kind of cool to see Steamboat and Youngblood walk away with the titles. But with it being the Briscoe brothers and Steamboat, I expected a little bit more from them. I guess it's mainly because when I was watching the match, I kept thinking, man, this guy put on a really good show with Macho Man at WrestleMania, so this is going to be good, and it fell flat.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I'm the one who uses the points as far as 0.3, 0.5, 0.7. I try to give what's there, and then it's like sometimes they don't reach up to the next highest point, so I just give it a 0.3, 0.5. That's just me.
Yeah, I don't like you utilizing that much. I'm not trying to condemn you for using or anything like that.
That's not. This is funny.
It was better than a 3, but not quite a 4, is what I came down to.
Yeah.
So the last match ended up being Ric Flair versus Harley Race in a cage match. I made a note here. Of course, Ric Flair bled in this match because that's what Ric Flair does. But I was shocked to see him do a crossbody pin onto Harley Race. I don't recall ever seeing Ric Flair do a flying crossbody.
Yeah, it's nothing usual necessarily. Anytime he gets up top rope, as we usually know, he gets brought right back down. But I remember seeing highlights of this match. I think I've seen this match years ago, and it was interesting finish. But I would say that they felt like they were out of gas, and that was the finish. So it was an interesting finish, but I gave the match a Was it 5?
I gave it a 6, and I guess it's because I just was marveled by the fact that Ric Flair actually did a crossbody.
Yeah.
A one note I did make is that I thought it was kind of weird that the ref was basically crawling on his hands and knees, and it looked like he was trying to get behind Harley Race to trip him. Which I'm watching this and I'm like, what are you doing? You're making this super obvious. And then they didn't even do the trip spot, so I don't know what it was for. Ric Flair ended up being your champion. They had a little bit of a thing backstage with him where, again, very solemn Ric Flair before he decided to drink a few Red Bulls before doing a promo and getting his wings. So that. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, good.
I was gonna say, well, that was just Starrcade 1983.
1983, absolutely, and it's interesting. I know it was Ric Flair's third title win. But he's won. I wonder how many actual title matches, titles he actually won in that period. But he's a 16-time world champion. But if you look at all his title wins, he's had like 20 of them.
He's had a lot. Yeah, I don't know.
But I'm just kind of curious of how many actual title wins did he have up to this point. And I don't even know why they all his title wins was never counted for. That story was never told. Even Ric Flair he kind of spoke about it just barely. I don't know, a couple of years or so ago. I was curious of what his exact title victories were at that point.
I don't know. And sadly, I don't think Ric Flair knows. I think with all the alcohol he's consumed and possibly other drugs he's done, I don't think he has any memory of how many titles he actually won. And that's unfortunate because, like, you have a guy like Chris Jericho who literally writes down every one of his matches, just so you can never forget about him.
You would think that the promoter would account for it, though, too, is what I'm basically saying. Is that not all the promoters weren't accounting for all the title victories, whether they were televised or non-televised.
That's what I think it kind of falls on, is whether or not it's televised or not televised, because I do believe that even changing the title on a non-televised event kept happening, so I think the promoter would lose track unless they're trying to make it part of a story. But Ric Flair is regarded as holding the record in title wins, which I wasn't a fan. Well, right. He's tied with Cena now, isn't he?
Yeah. For about 2 years, I guess it's been something like that.
Which I wasn't a huge fan of Cena getting that. But I do think if Cena decides to come back and wrestle full time, he's probably gonna demolish that record. But
I've been kind of waiting on when they were gonna do that, if they even do that. I mean, I said leave the record alone, honestly. But most times records do get broken. So it's kind of curious if he does break it, who's going to be the one to face him in that match. Obviously, he faced AJ at a Royal Rumble to get a 16th title victory. But I thought if you're going to tie it, might as well have AJ be in there too.
Right. The only other person I think that might beat it will probably end up being Roman.
That would probably be the best, the next probable pick.
Yeah. But with Starrcade, not even just this Starrcade, but Starrcade in general, this was one of the first major pay-per-views that a wrestling promotion put on, especially on closed-circuit television, and became basically what the format, I wouldn't say the format, but the template of what WrestleMania became, a year and a half later?
Yeah, I'll say about it. 93. No, less than that. This was
wasn't the first WrestleMania in 1985?
No, 84. So about 6 months later, the first WrestleMania was.
Why do I think that was longer? Nargle first WrestleMania. Nope. March 31st, 1985.
I thought it was 84.
I just happened to look it up.
Okay.
I did look this up beforehand, but then I'm like, well, maybe I'm remembering the year wrong. But it was definitely 85. But if there wasn't a Starrcade, there wouldn't be WrestleMania. If there wouldn't be WrestleMania, I don't think there'd be a Survivor Series or Royal Rumble. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. It all fell into to place, and hell, even with the all the political things that happened with McMahon and involving I think it's involving Crockett, I believe. Someone can correct me on this stuff too if you're listening, or whoever's listening, I should say. Uh, Pretty much he got financed for pretty much getting bought. Can't remember the whole. I have to go back and look at some footage and some stuff from back in the day. But yeah, basically, eventually, WrestleMania was financed. Cost about $1 million put on. Howard Finkel came up with the name, but we're talking about I know we're talking about Starrcade, but Starrcade was a huge event. It went on until the end of WCW, and
yeah,
I think my favorite Starrcade was 97, honestly. 96 is good too with Piper and Hogan. But 97 was, I think, in my own taste was Sting versus Hogan. 97.
that's what I thought it was. That's the main one that sticks out, right behind the one where Goldberg lost the streak in the title to Kevin Nash, which was what 98, 99, right around there.
I think it's 98.
But between the latter years of WCW and what WWF has done, or sorry, WWE has done to Starrcade, it's kind of lost its value. I don't understand why don't they just use Starrcade as the December pay-per-view, just like I think they should use Halloween Havoc as the Halloween pay-per-view. Things like that, but WWE chooses to make it a glorified house show, just like Crown Jewel and the greatest Royal Rumble, to where now there's no value in the name. It's weird because Vince is not really in charge as much as he used to be, but it seems like he still holds a grudge that WCW and NWA and Starrcade and all these things became things that went against him, to where he just tries to kill it and keep on killing it, essentially.
Yeah.
At one point, there's gonna be a crying kid that says, "Stop! It's dead." So,
yeah, it's. I don't like when they're doing the glorified house show for Starrcade. I don't like it either. They should do a lot more for it. And it's just to where it's a huge event. I'm like, how would you feel to put WrestleMania as a house? I mean, I know WrestleMania this day and age is different, much bigger show, but Starrcade is not just some little thing. It's a big deal. So yeah, I agree that they should not make it just some glorified house show. Put 3-4 matches on it. I think they usually put on maybe no more than 6. And it's like
something like that.
Yeah, I think last year or 2 years, however long they only had a few matches for it. It's like you're not doing it justice. I know Cody, he was trying to file for it for a while back. He was like, just give it to him. But if you're gonna have it, do some justice. So they haven't done that.
Speaking of Cody and filing for something related to WCW, I just read earlier today that Arn Anderson filed for the Four Horsemen.
Yeah, I seen about that too. I think be better off, do something with it. So see how that turns out. But Four Horsemen was obviously a big deal. So they need to be kind of interesting. What I'm guessing he wants it for his own personal deal, unless they want to use it inside AEW.
I think they're going to use it inside AEW, and I think that the horsemen that they're going to put together are going to be MJF, FTR, and Shawn Spears. That's what I think is going to end up happening.
I don't really go for that. I mean, I get it, but that wouldn't be terrible. But just I would like to see it stay with, have something with Cody. Honestly, that's me though.
I don't think Cody, because what they did is they aligned. It's him coming from Arn, but they've aligned Tully with Shawn Spears and FTR. So I think those three are definitely involved.
Yeah.
I'm not a big person behind MGF having a group, because I don't think he really needs it.
Yeah.
But if he is the Ric Flair of the horror